Good morning, everyone. We had already begun with a new chapter, that is tracing changes through 1,000 years. Means we are tracing changes, we are seeing how history has changed a lot, right? How things, how the society, how the social environment, how the political environment has changed over 1,000 years, how the communities have settled in a different way, how the infrastructure has changed, how the humans have changed, right? Their behavior has changed over the past 1,000 years, right? And also we start with, the chapter starts with the introduction of a map which was made by Arab geographer Al-Idrisi in 1154. And this map made by Al-Idrisi is being compared to a map made by a French cartographer in 1720. And we see that there is a varying difference, huge difference between the map which was made in 1154 and the map which was made 600 years later by a French cartographer. In Al-Idrisi's map, South India is where we would expect to find North India, and Sri Lanka is the island at the top, whereas if you see the current map, Sri Lanka is the island at the bottom. Place names are marked in Arabic, and there are some well-known names like Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh. The second map seems more familiar to us, and the coastal areas in particular are surprisingly detailed. This map was used by European sailors and merchants in their voyages. The science of cartography, means the science of making maps, right, differs in different periods. New terminologies, now it refers to the names which were given to the places, right? It refers to the names which are given to the places. It refers to the names which were given to the areas annexed by the kings and kings and rulers of that time. Like if we talk about Prayagraj, earlier it was known as Allahabad. Now it is termed as Prayagraj. Later on, might be the name is changed. Like your Lucknow, it was earlier known as Awadh, but now it is known as Lucknow, right? Bangalore, Bangalore was earlier known as Bangalore, now it is known as Bengaluru. Mumbai was earlier known as Bombay. So we have new terminologies keep on coming, new names of places, they keep on coming with the change, with the change of kings and with the change of rulers, right? Every ruler, they give their own names to the places they annex. Historical records exist in a variety of languages which have changed considerably over the years. The difference is not just with regard to the grammar and vocabulary. The meanings of words also change over time. The term Hindustan was coined by Minhaj-e-Siraj, a chronicler who wrote in Persian for areas around Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between Ganga and Yamuna. He used the term in a political sense for lands that were a part of the dominions of the Delhi Sultan. Now, the term Hindustan was used for the area annexed by the Delhi Sultan, right? The areas which came under the control of Delhi Sultan was termed as Hindustan, and South India was never included in it. And what were the areas under Delhi Sultan? It was Punjab, Haryana, land between Ganga and Yamuna, right? So whatever lands which came under the control of Delhi Sultan was termed as Hindustan, and this term was coined by Minhaj-e-Siraj. But in this Hindustan, South India was never a part. In early 16th century, Babur used Hindustan to describe the geography, the fauna and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. This was somewhat similar to the way the 14th century poet Amir Khusrau used the word Hind. Then we had talked about historians and their sources, the sources which we were talking about, how histories, how do we come to know about our history? How these historians, they study our history. It's through the coins, which we find through digging, the coins which we find, the inscriptions, the carvings on stones, which archaeologists find while they investigate a site, right? How do archaeologists investigate a site? By digging up the things. whatever materials come in the hand of archaeologists, right? These historians, they study these materials, the coins of those times, the utensils, the paintings, the carvings, all these are the sources through which we get to know about our history. And later on, even the paper, right? The manuscripts came into existence, the paperwork, right? People used to write manuscripts because no printing technology was there. So even these manuscripts are a very good record to study our history. But with this writing technology, with this paper technology, what used to happen, now the original was always manipulated when it was copied, right? Because the person who has written the original and the one who's copying might be, they have different set of ideas. So while copying, he might be adding one or two sentences of his own, which completely changed the meaning of the original versions. That is why, whenever we have to make a historical serial, we have to go through a lot of references, because we never know from where the history actually changed. Why? Because people used to copy the manuscripts and sell it. Manuscripts were written only once, rest were copied. And since printing technology was not there, copying was done through writing. And when one used to write, they used to give their own ideas in it, and that is how the versions, they vary from the original sources. I've given you a homework also. Draw timeline of history between 700 AD to 1715 AD in wall hanging form. Now, new social and political groups which came to existence. The study of the 1,000 years between 700 and 1750 is a huge challenge to historians, largely because of the scale and variety of developments that occurred over the period. 700 to 1750 is a huge period, right? And a lot of changes have occurred in this duration. From ancient history, we have moved to medieval history, and we were on the verge of moving to a modern history, right? That is how even the changes in history have taken place. From ancient to medieval, and on the verge of moving to a modern history. So a lot of developments have taken place, a lot of changes have taken place. Some of the developments were the introduction of the Persian wheel in irrigation, right? That wheel in irrigation was used. Spinning wheel and weaving, wheel was introduced, right? And wheel was introduced, so it was being used, right? In many, it was used in many other works as well. And firearms in combat. New foods and beverages arrived in the subcontinent. Potatoes, corn, chilies, tea and coffee. And how these? Because people from other countries, the travelers, right, the chroniclers who came from other countries just to study the culture of India, just to know about India, right? They, along with them, they not only they came along with the culture, right? They came along with a culture which got mixed with the Indian culture. Even the rulers of other origin, right? The Mughals who have invaded India from Afghanistan, when they had come and the Mughal emperor was there in India, it's not that only Mughals had come to India, right? They had even got their culture. They even brought their culture, and this culture got mixed with the Indian culture. It was a period of great mobility. Groups of people traveled long distances in search of opportunity, and this movement only, led people to carry their ideas, their cultures also to different subcontinent. The subcontinent held immense wealth and the possibilities for people to carve a fortune. India was known as a golden bird at that time, and that is why your Britishers were attracted towards India. India was rich in resources. India was rich in wealth, and that is why people from other continents, also from other countries, they came to India in search of a better future. And when they came, they along with them brought their culture also, right? Their habits also, which got mixed with the Indian culture. One such group of people was that of Rajputs. Rajputs we very well know, name derived from Rajaputra, the son of a ruler. Other groups of warriors were Marathas, Sikhs, Jats, Ahams and Kayats. These were the groups which were found in India, right? The Rajputs. the Marathas, the Sikhs, the Jats, the Ahims and Kayats. These were the groups of Indian origin. Between the 8th and 14th centuries, the term was applied more generally to a group of warriors. Now, Kshatriyas was used to a group of warriors also, right? The warriors were termed as Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas was also given as a status. It was termed as a caste. The term included not just rulers and chieftains, but also soldiers and commanders who served in the armies of different monarchs all over the subcontinent. Now, we are talking about the caste system as well. How the social status in the society was decided, how the caste system was decided, right? And what kind of social division was existing in the society. Who were the Rajputs? A chivalric code of conduct means a heroic code of conduct. Extreme valor means extreme proud, extreme courage, and a great sense of loyalty. They were courageous, they were loyal, they were heroic, and they were the Rajputs. But the qualities attributed to Rajputs by their poets and bards. Throughout this period, there was a gradual clearing of forest and the extension of agriculture, and changes in their habitat forced many forest dwellers to migrate. Now what happened? Extension of agriculture was happening. Why? Because population was increasing. So for agriculture, forests were being cleared up. Now forest dwellers, the people who were dependent on forest, they were forced to migrate to other places, or they were forced to opt for some other occupation. Others started tilling the land and became peasants. These new peasant groups gradually began to be influenced by regional markets. Now, when a lot of changes were being taken place, even there was a change in the commercial world also. Markets were set up, right? People used to sell their goods in the markets, and they used to earn huge profits. So these new peasants group gradually began to be influenced by regional markets, chieftains, priests, monasteries and temples. They became part of large complex societies and were required to pay taxes and offer goods and services to local lords. Some peasants possessed more productive land, others also kept cattle, and some combined artisanal work and agriculture activity during the lean season. Furthermore, as society became more differentiated, people were grouped into jatis or subcastes. Jatis means subcaste, and ranked on the basis of their background and their occupations. Now there was a division of caste also. People were divided according to their occupations, and people were divided according to their backgrounds. So division of society was there now. Ranks were not fixed permanently and varied according to the power, influence and resources controlled by members of the jati. The status of the same jati could vary from an area to area. Now status, it varied from area to area, because in one area might be that particular caste is poor, but in another area that particular caste might be rich, right? Because ranks were not permanent. They were decided on the social status, and it kept on changing as the power changed from one hand to other. Jatis framed their own rules and regulations to manage the conduct of their members. These regulations were enforced by an assembly of elders, described in some areas as the Jatis Panchayats, right? But Jatis were also required to follow the rules of their villages. Several villages were governed by a chieftain. Now, these subcaste had a village head also. These caste, right? The Jatis, the subcaste, they had their own rules and regulations, right? They framed their own rules and regulations. And these rules and regulations were governed by the Jatis Panchayat. But there was a village Panchayat as well, right? Which was ruled by the chieftain, which was governed by the chieftain. Now class, what you will do is you will go through this slides, new social and political group once. You will go through it very thoroughly, very carefully. If any confusion is there, you can raise your queries on your WhatsApp group, right? If any query is there, do raise it on WhatsApp group. Thank you.